The summer heat pressed down on the quiet neighborhood of Brookhaven, where the lawns were trimmed perfectly, the mailboxes stood polished, and every family seemed to know each other's business. In a place like this, secrets weren't supposed to exist, yet some were hidden in plain sight, just waiting for the right moment to unravel. Claire Matthews had lived on Willow Lane for 5 years. She was 35, a graphic designer who worked mostly from home, and though she kept to herself, she had the kind of quiet charm that made neighbors stop to chat whenever she passed. Her marriage had ended 2 years ago, leaving her with a lingering emptiness that she often filled with work, coffee shop visits, and the occasional glass of wine on her back porch. She had convinced herself she was content. Next door lived the Carters, Hannah and her husband Michael. Hannah was sweet but busy, often rushing out in pressed skirts, clutching her phone and briefcase. She worked long hours as a corporate attorney downtown, rarely getting home before 8. Michael, however, was around more often. He was a contractor, tall and broad-shouldered, with a smile that seemed to reach his eyes. He did most of the yard work, fixed things around their home, and occasionally lent a hand to the neighbors. Claire first noticed him when her kitchen sink broke one spring morning. She had been fumbling with tools, trying to tighten a pipe, when a knock at the door startled her. It was Michael, holding a wrench. "Saw you struggling through the window," he said with an easy grin. "Mind if I help?" Within minutes, he had the pipe tightened and the sink running again. Claire thanked him profusely, and he just shrugged. That's what neighbors are for. From that day forward, their paths crossed more often. A wave over the fence when he was mowing the lawn, a casual hello when she fetched the mail, small conversations that grew into something warmer. She learned that Michael was 40, that he loved old country music, and that he had once dreamed of being a baseball player before life pulled him elsewhere. She told him about her love of design, her obsession with sketching in the evenings, and her weakness for homemade pie. One evening, after Hannah had left for a week-long business trip, Claire found herself sitting on her porch with a glass of wine. Michael was working late in his garage, and when he noticed her, he walked over. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. She nodded, and the night unfolded softly around them. They talked about small things, the stars, music, childhood stories, and something in the ease of that conversation felt dangerous. Claire felt her heart tug in a way it hadn't in years. Over the weeks that followed, the pull between them grew harder to ignore. It was never anything reckless, no dramatic declarations, no hurried glances that might draw suspicion. Instead, it was subtle. Michael would linger just a little longer when handing her something, their fingers brushing. Claire would catch herself watching him when he laughed, her chest tightening. Once, when a sudden storm knocked out the power, Michael came by with flashlights. In the flickering glow of candles, they sat close, sharing stories while the rain hammered outside. The first time it crossed a line was almost accidental. Claire had baked a pie, peach, his favorite, and when she brought it over, he insisted she stay for coffee. Hannah was working late again. They sat at the kitchen table, the air between them thick with unspoken tension. When Claire leaned forward to laugh at something he said, their hands touched, and neither of them pulled away. For a long moment they just stared at each other. Then Michael whispered, "This feels wrong, but it also feels right." Claire's heart pounded, but she said nothing. That night, after she returned home, she couldn't sleep. The guilt twisted in her stomach, but alongside it was an undeniable longing. She knew the risk. She knew the weight of what it could mean if anyone ever found out. Yet every time she tried to push the thought away, her mind drifted back to the way Michael looked at her, as if she was the only one who saw him for who he truly was. Their secret moments multiplied quietly. A shared coffee on her porch before Hannah came home. A walk down the block under the excuse of just getting fresh air. It was never grand or dramatic. It was careful, hidden, tucked away between the cracks of everyday life. But within those cracks bloomed a connection too deep to ignore. One evening, as the cicadas hummed in the background, Michael confessed something that caught Claire off guard. "I feel invisible sometimes," he said, staring out at the darkening sky. "Hannah's career is everything to her, and I'm proud of her, but I don't think she even sees me anymore. Claire placed her hand gently on his. I see you, she whispered. And she meant it. The romance between them wasn't built on fiery passion or reckless decisions. It was tender, quiet, and secret. They knew they couldn't rewrite their lives overnight. They knew the line they were walking was thin and dangerous. Yet, in each other's company, they felt a kind of solace that neither had known in years. As summer turned to fall, the neighborhood prepared for its annual block party. Families strung lights across yards, children ran through sprinklers, and laughter carried through the air. Claire found herself standing next to Michael at the grill, their hands brushing as he passed her a plate. To anyone watching, it looked ordinary. But between them, every glance was heavy with unspoken words. That night after the party, Claire sat alone on her porch, listening to the fading sounds of laughter from down the street. She knew this couldn't last forever. Secrets in Brookhaven had a way of surfacing eventually. But for now, in that small space between what was real and what was forbidden, she allowed herself to feel. The story of Claire and Michael wasn't one of fireworks or scandal splashed across headlines. It was the story of two people who found each other in quiet moments, who carried a secret romance in the spaces no one else could see. Whether it would last, or whether it was destined to unravel, was something time alone would tell. But in that season of their lives, under the warm glow of porch lights and the hush of midnight skies, they found something neither of them had expected. A reminder that even in the most ordinary of places, love, however complicated, could bloom.